So as we wrap things up here in the playoff predictions, play-in series videos, today we're heading to the Eastern Conference, a 15-point match difference between the number 5 Pittsburgh Penguins and the number 12 Montreal Canadiens. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. And let's take a look at this matchup between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Montreal Canadiens. So looking at this matchup here between the Montreal Canadiens and the Pittsburgh Penguins, an Eastern Conference matchup with not a ton of playoff history, but 2 series over the past 20 years. We'll be taking a look at that in this video. You've got the Pittsburgh Penguins, who have been one of the gems of the NHL over the past 2 decades. One of the best teams, maybe because of that guy, Sidney Crosby, really a very solid team there in Pittsburgh. And the Montreal Canadiens, who have definitely fallen from their graces. They haven't won a Stanley Cup in a long time. They haven't had a ton of playoff success under Marc Bergevin either over the past couple of years. So looking at the head-to-head match between these two teams, you've got the Montreal Canadiens power play percentage, 17% for the Montreal Canadiens. The penalty kill, 78% for the Montreal Canadiens. Pretty solid for the Habs this season. Again, the penalty kill definitely could be a little bit better. It's a little below average, as well as the power play could be a determining factor in this series for the Montreal Canadiens. They just don't have that huge amount of scoring depth. I think that could be a huge difference maker for the Canadiens. Looking at the record, 31-31 and 9 on the season. Nothing to write home about here for the Montreal Canadiens either. Their big player to watch in this series, though, will be Carey Price. And I think another guy that has to be mentioned as well, Philip Deneau, I think has to be a huge factor for the Canadiens in this series if they want to have a chance. They've got some decent players, guys like Brendan Gallagher, who I think can help as well, Shea Weber on the back end. But I think the big guy is going to be Carey Price. Can he steal a 5-game series here for the Montreal Canadiens? And we're going to have to wait to find out on that. Looking at the Pittsburgh Penguins head-to-head, power play percentage is 19%, almost 20%, so right around average there for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Penalty kill, pretty solid this year, over 82% for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Their record, 40-23 and 6 on the season, one of the better records in the NHL. They got that 40-win mark. They were on pace to probably get 50 wins this season, or at least very close to it. A pretty solid campaign here for the Pittsburgh Penguins. The big player to watch is the guy I'm wearing his jersey, the guy that's coming back from his injury. It's going to be number 59, Jake Guentzel. I think he's in store for a big playoff run this year. He's had a little bit of extra time to rest. If he's been able to train properly and his rehab is ready to go and he's fully ready, over 100% ready for this series, he could be a huge factor and a huge difference maker overall for this series and just adds to the depth that the Pittsburgh Penguins need for this series. Looking at the season series between these two teams, back in December, it was the Montreal Canadiens pulling up a 4-1 victory on the Pittsburgh Penguins. And since then, in 2020, it's been all Pittsburgh. A 3-2 overtime victory for the Pittsburgh Penguins and a 4-1 victory back in February for the Pittsburgh Penguins. The playoff history between these two teams, you've got the Montreal Canadiens, who won the conference quarterfinals back in 1998 in the playoffs back then, a 7-game series victory. And then the most recent opportunity we saw these teams play was back in the 2010 Stanley Cup playoffs, where the Montreal Canadiens won in the conference semifinals in a 7-game series. So once again, the Montreal Canadiens have had a little bit of dirt on the Pittsburgh Penguins in their most recent postseason matchups. Will the Pittsburgh Penguins be able to avenge that and get into the top 16? With my predictions, I believe the Pittsburgh Penguins will win this in 4 games. Now, I believe Carey Price could be huge and be the difference maker in this series, but I believe the Pittsburgh Penguins' depth and scoring power up front is just too much to handle here for the Montreal Canadiens. The Canadiens' defense is probably slightly better than the Pittsburgh Penguins, but the depth up front is just too much to handle. The special teams is just much better in favor of the Pittsburgh Penguins. The goaltending definitely goes to Carey Price, but if he is not at his top game, I don't believe it will be enough for the Montreal Canadiens. Philip Deneau will have a tough task taking on the Sidney Crosby line, But after that, I don't know if they're going to be able to handle lines like Brian Rust, who was over a point per game, Evgeny Malkin. I don't think they're going to be able to handle that, and I think that's going to be the factor here in this series. I think the Pittsburgh Penguins are too much. I think they win this series in 4 games. So leave in the comment section down below, what do you think of this matchup here between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Montreal Canadiens? Who do you have winning this series, and in how many games? If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey and you haven't checked out the rest of our playoff predictions / play-in series videos, make sure to check those out as well. And if you like what we're doing, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.